Retro Quickies, the Addams Family. When I was a kid, the only version of the Addams Family that I was ever aware of were reruns of the cartoon on places like Cartoon Network. And I'll admit, I dismissed the NES game out of hand as just a poor licensed game. The game had a ton of different versions, all ostensibly based on the 1991 live-action movie, so of course, despite the SNES being out for about 2 years, Ocean Software wasn't going to miss the opportunity to put out a version on a console that still had a massive install base. And you know what? The game is incredibly jank, but it is actually pretty cool too. It's basically a search action game, well before the term, or its original term, Metroidvania, was ever really a thing. You play as Gomez, tasked with not only running through the mansion and saving your family members, but also collecting the family fortune. The actual size of the game is relatively small, making it pretty easy to memorize where you've been and where you still need to explore, and it's all laid out pretty logically for the most part, making navigation fairly easy. As you explore, you find various items and objects meant to help you explore further. You find an umbrella that allows you to fall slowly at certain points. You need to find ingredients for a potion to shrink Pugsley to get him unstuck. You need a snorkel to swim underwater without drowning. You have to bring Wednesday out of the freezer and into the furnace to unfreeze her. It's legit clever, and there are even some pretty cool puzzles, like having Lurch play the right music to get a ghost couple dancing so that they get out of your way so you can get into the forest in the backyard. So in other words, it's the sort of game where even if you fail, you gain something new every time you fail, and can use that knowledge to turn around and get further and further. And the game is actually so open-ended, there's a ton of stuff that you can go and do first. Well, at least once you've gotten the front door key. However, while the game's layout is really cool and it is nice the way it handles exploring, actually playing the game can be kind of frustrating. Gomez plays just fine. He's a little on the slow side, but he moves fast enough for what the game is trying to do. And he's got a pretty good feeling jump arc, but unfortunately actually platforming can be kind of weird, as it does that thing where if you don't land square you can fall through the edges of a platform, which is kind of a problem when several of the platforms will also harm you from the side. You have a pretty sizable health bar, but it can drain really fast because Gomez doesn't really react to being hit and you have no iframes, so you can end up standing in the hurt box for an enemy or an obstacle and just have your health drained completely before you have any idea what's happening. And this game has plenty of means of draining your health. The mansion is littered with traps that you aren't going to see coming your first time through. Even after playing the game the first few times, you're probably going to forget about things like the falling chandelier in the main foyer, or the bear rug in the hallway, or the falling swords upstairs, or the huge amount of enemies that will immediately rush you in places like the furnace or the kitchen. What's worse is that some of these traps, like the chandelier, only trigger once, while most of them will trigger every time you re-enter a room. And of course, the game also loves to throw a lot of stuff at you that you can see, but is made hard to react to due to the sheer amount of it coming at you at once. The game's at its worst, though, when it's screwing with your controls, like in the freezer, where it's ice physics, even when you're jumping in the air. And of course, there are a bunch of bottomless pits here. Or the lake, where the swimming controls make me cry. You also have very limited tries in this game. There are a couple of 1-ups scattered around, as well as a couple of blocks of cheese, the healing item of this game, that don't reappear after you collect them. And once you run out of lives and use up your 2 continues, that's it, back to the title screen with you. But again, due to the game's open-ended nature, I honestly don't think that's that big of an issue. The big issue is actually getting everything together without wasting your limited lives. Memorization can only do so much when the game is actively trying to screw you over. I will give the game credit, it's very straightforward with its intentions, and most of the time, the items that you pick up or that you're told about actually make logical sense. You're told you need ingredients for a potion, and the ingredients are kept separate from everything else in the pause screen inventory, for example. And the potion is just given to you when you get everything that you need. It's cool. It's a good system. What isn't good though is the game pulling the rug out from under you at the end. The game requires you to have accumulated at least $1 million total throughout the entire game, or you can't actually fight the last boss. And while you can miss a little bit of the money here and there, you need most of it found throughout the game to even get close. The game does look really nice, though the pixel art of the family members, meant to look closer to stills from the movie, look weirdly uncanny. A part of me feels like this fits the mood of the source material pretty well, though the sprite work is honestly great, even if a lot of the enemies and obstacles are pretty standard horror fare, though the actual characters do look close to their actual selves. Music, on the other hand, is pretty limited. You've got the main Addams Family theme, which is going to play most of the time, a mysterious dungeon theme that plays in the more dangerous areas of the game, and the short little tunes you can make Lurch play on the piano, but that's about it. It's not even that bad of a rendition of the theme, but it plays so often that it's going to wear on your nerves. And the rest of the sounds are pretty stock, to the point that I'm pretty sure I heard a few of these sound effects from Action 52 mixed in there. Or maybe they were from this game and Action 52 took from them. They did come out the same year. Despite this, I actually do find it to be a fun game, and while it can test your patience at times, it's a rather fun adventure platformer. Definitely not what I was expecting from an Addams Family game, but I am glad I gave this one a shot. Let's hope they don't totally blow it when it comes to the follow-up for this game. Oh my god, I did the YouTube foreshadowing thing, didn't I? Damn it!